The chess world has a new cheating scandal, and in this video I'm going to tell you more about it. As you can expect, former world chess champion Vladimir Kramnik, the legendary player, he's playing a very important role in this story. And I'll tell you more about it, but first, a very exciting game he played in Title Tuesday on chess.com against another former world chess champion, Magnus Carlsen. Kramnik with white, Carlsen with black. It's going to be a very short and very attractive game, so I hope you will enjoy it. If you haven't subscribed yet to the channel and you do like my videos, you know what to do. Thanks for all the support, guys, also during the World Chess Championship match. But this is only the beginning. Help the channel to grow, and then I will show you the most exciting chess developments for you. So here we are. Kramnik starts the game with a move 1e4, and Magnus, as provocative as always, goes for the move a6. Like, very disrespectful choice, you may argue. Why to play such a bad move? Normally you play that against somebody who's really weak and you don't take him too seriously. Of course it's a legal move, but it's a kind of a sign to provoke your opponent a bit, to avoid theory. That's what Magnus wants. But he's playing it actually with some sort of idea. White is going to occupy the center with the move d4, and black plays here the move c6. So we actually get a transposition to some sort of line, usually arising from a Caro-Kann, starting with the move 1c6. Now bishop d3 is played. Magnus goes for d5, challenging the pawn on d4. And there are different ways of playing, but nowadays in modern chess, grabbing space is one of the more common ideas. e5 is a good move. White has a nice pawn center. The knight from g8 cannot easily be developed. But the plan is here to follow up with the move c5. Now, a very thematical plan in these kind of advanced structures, in the Caro-Kann or in the French. And the pawn on a6 is not too badly placed. It does cover the b5 square, and it also prepares the knight coming to c6 very soon. Now the question is, how should white continue? You may consider actually taking the pawn on c5, which is a reasonable move. Black will be able to regain the pawn very soon with a move like e6. And there are actually different ways of playing there as well. But Kramnik says, I just want to play with my nice pawn center. Keeps the pawn on d4 intact by overprotecting it with its own c pawn. Knight c6. Attacking the pawn on d4 for the second time. And now white has to think about how to defend the pawn. Knight e2 was played. That's an excellent move. Just want to show you that if you play knight f3, which is the more active knight developing move, then the bishop comes to g4 and you have a problem because you're not able to solve the pin. There's tremendous pressure here against the knight and indirectly also against that pawn on d4. Therefore, the knight goes to e2, pawn takes d4, pawn takes d4. And what is black gonna do? Well, one of the big advantages of the Caro-Kann in general is that you haven't committed yourself to an early e6. e6 is possible, but then your bishop on c8 will be stuck behind its own pawns. And I think Magnus's move bishop g4 does perfectly make sense. Now, similar ideas as mentioned earlier to put pressure against the knight on e2, but white has the option here to play the move f3 to unpin and attack the bishop at the same time. Now, interestingly, in an earlier Title Tuesday some months ago, Carlsen had his exact position against blitz expert Martinez Alcantara, and in that game Magnus dropped back with a bishop to d7. It is possible to play in such a way, and you can say that maybe the pawn on f3 is a weakening move. Black is going to follow up with e6, but in general I really feel that white is better in these advanced structures with all minor pieces still on the board. So Magnus comes up with an improvement. Looks like he has studied his own blitz games, because the engine also approves that bishop h5 is here the best way of playing, and in a way it's a very natural move. You do keep the possibility of offering the exchange of light squared bishops against each other. But Kramnik is playing in a very energetic way, and he's trying to prove that bishop h5 is not the best move. However, let's see what happens. e6, that is a thematical idea. Having forced the bishop to leave the c8 h3 diagonal, this thematical pawn break is often seen in the advanced structures. Now, If you don't take the pawn will be there for a long time, and your pieces on the king side, well, they're gonna suffer quite a lot. So pawn takes e6. And how to follow up here? Well, a move like bishop f4 is very logical to cover the e5 square. You can even start with a move like queen b3 to attack the pawn on b7. Kramnik goes for the move knight bc3, which does look pretty sensible, but in a way, it's not such a good move. I mean, black has the possibility here to break free, to undouble the pawns. Whenever you do get a chance, that's normally speaking a good plan for black. Like playing the move e5, giving back the pawn. Now, you're not interested in taking on e5 back the pawn, but you want to play e6, so that this bishop can be developed, and then your knight can come to e7, and very soon you can castle. All your pieces are starting to participate, so that is quite a sensible, playable position for black. However, Magnus started with knight f6, which also seems very logical, but now after castling, he played here the move e5. Now after pawn takes e5, the difference is you cannot play e6 because your knight on f6 is under an attack. You're forced to take back with a knight, which of course it feels like quite nice to take back with a knight, and the knight is intending to take the bishop at some point probably. But well, white has different ideas here, and what would you play here? I mean, I guess that keeping the bishop on the board with the move bishop f5, it does look pretty strong. Was not played in the game, but it's an interesting line because I don't really see how black is going to entangle. In case you try this move, e6, and this is just analysis, guys, I will show you the game very soon. You take with the bishop, and you're not afraid of the move queen b6, which is a double attack against the king, against the bishop, but there is knight d4 defending the bishop. Now, after bishop c5, it looks like black is going to win a piece anyway, but the line continues with bishop e3. And the reason I show you this line is because I think it's very instructive. Now, bishop takes knight, bishop takes back, queen takes bishop, and here it is rook to e1. With the king still in the center and the e-file open, white is about to regain material. After knight e7, you can take once on e5, get your other queen to d4, and on the next move, you'll take the knight, and white will dominate the center, regain the piece, probably win the pawn on d5 as well. This offers white a decisive advantage. Let's go back. Instead, after knight takes e5, we also want to see what happened in the game. Knight f4 looks very logical, putting pressure against the bishop, and there are ideas with knight e6 anyway very soon. Bishop f7 therefore played, rook e1, and here white is attacking the knight on e5. And what is black gonna do? Well, black can take on d3, but probably you can just take back with the queen, and white has a huge lead in development. With pressure on the e-file, the bishop on f8 cannot move. You cannot get your king out of the center. You can get your bishop into the game. The other rook can come to the center. Looks fantastic. So therefore, Kramnik doesn't want to take yet. He has other possibilities. I personally really do like this move, knight c6. So the knight is safe, and you do prepare the move e5. I think that's very important, that whenever you solve a problem of one of your pieces, you think already what you can do with your other pieces. And that bishop on f8 needs to be brought into play. But instead, Carlsen played here the move queen d6, activating the queen, defending the knight, but still the problem with the bishop on f8 remains. And now probably there were ideas for black to follow up with castling queenside soon. I wouldn't be surprised if that is what Magnus had in mind. But there's queen a4 check. That's a very, very nasty move, because if you do play b5, well, there are these ideas with knight takes b5, exploiting the pin on the pawn on a6. So here black's position will fall apart. Still, the position is acceptable for black, but you have to play something like knight fd7. Well, it doesn't look easy. I mean, the machine makes it playable, but for human eye, I'm not convinced. I don't like it too much. But Magnus played instead the move knight c6. And, well, you can see that Magnus played quite a number of bad moves. It happens in blitz games, of course, with Title Tuesday. It's 3 minutes plus 1 second increment. To me, there's no need to have played the move queen d6 when you're intending to go back with your knight to c6 anyway. So I definitely dare to say that Magnus was not playing here at his best. And well, Kramnik goes for knight b5 anyway. This time it doesn't win the pawn, but it hits the queen. You cannot take the knight because of queen takes a8. White wins the exchange, and again, the position is falling apart here. White is having tremendous play. The queen is forced to go somewhere. If the queen goes to d8, I think knight d4 is a very unpleasant move with pressure against the knight on c6. And well, if you play something like queen d7, this is going from bad to worse because there's bishop f5 and attacking the queen again. If the queen moves, you jump in with your knight to e6. The fantastic octopus, bishop takes, knight takes. The knight is dominating, paralyzing black's position. You're not threatening to take the bishop, but you have this idea to go for bishop f4 to attack the queen. If the queen moves, there's knight c7. White's attack plays itself for just one little pawn. Now instead of queen d8, they're followed Magnus's move queen d7. Feels like the queen is safe. No way, there's another huge tempo move. Bishop f5, attacking the queen. And well, here, this feels awful. Magnus decided to take the bishop. Maybe he was hoping that white is going to play here knight c7, forking the king and the rook. But there's a much better fork with the move knight d6, exploiting the pin on the e file. The e pawn cannot move, king goes away, and there's knight takes f5, winning the queen. And well, Magnus felt this is something I should not play against Vladimir Kramnik. And he resigned the game, and only 19 moves, and Magnus Carlsen got crushed. Fantastic game, I'd like to say. After bishop f5, the position is completely gone anyway. Even if you play something like e6, you can take with a knight, bishop takes, rook takes, for instance. And well, here again, the position is just really bad. If you do play bishop e7, for instance, rook takes f6 with a discovered attack on the queen will win material. While if you get out of some sort of attack with king d8, probably rook takes f6 is possible anyway. Machine even says that you can go bishop e3 with the idea to go bishop b6 with a massive attack there for white. So you see, this is how you can punish opening moves when your opponent is playing pawn moves at the side of the board. Sometimes, very often in fact, they're quite slow, and well, trying to play actively, opening the center. Don't be afraid to sack a pawn or two, and you see that position was basically playing itself for white. So nice game by Vladimir Kramnik. But now, what happened with this cheating scandal? Because in this very same tournament, in Title Tuesday, he was paired against Thomas Randall, nice guy from England. I am like my strength. But he won against Kramnik, and you know, with Kramnik nowadays, he is getting a bit paranoid, if I dare to say that. He cannot really accept that weaker players are beating him, and he always comes up with theories why they are cheating. What he has his own sort of proof. I think for a human being, it cannot be really proof what he is showing. But he needs to bring more evidence to the table, and chess.com definitely didn't like his accusations, and it should be said it was not the first time. So chess.com decided to ban Vladimir Kramnik for 6 months. So he's not allowed to play in Title Tuesday. Probably he's also not allowed to play on chess.com itself. I'm not sure about that, but that seems quite understandable if they decided to take that measure as well. But Vladimir Kramnik, we will not see him on in Title Tuesday anytime soon on chess.com. But the last word definitely has not been said, because we know Vladimir, and he'll probably come up with some sort of his own theories. But let's see what's going to happen there. For now, he won a nice game against Magnus Carlsen, but we will not see him play soon again against him. So, well, that was it. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed this game, this video. Give it a like, subscribe to the channel, and soon many more exciting games on this channel. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.